teach the art.
You still they never had this.
Number one, never wanna run about the gun. I wasn't licensed to have one. The minute they see me, fear me. I'm the epitome of public enemy. Use, abuse without clues. I refuse to blow fuse. They even had it on the news.
Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype.
Back when I wrote y'all, yes.
So there's a popular podcast that Joe Budden does, and he has a group of people, and most of the time, to me, it borders on a lot of, this kind of knuckle dragging, very low vibrational commentary that because they're in a room with each other. It's funny being in a room full of knuckle draggers, and you might be the smartest, that you think you're profound. But they invited Melissa Ford. She's been in a few times, and the conversation got to be around Diddy. Melissa Ford, writer, artist extraordinaire, Melissa, Melyssa, if you're looking her up. So she's on the couch talking with this guy who calls himself Queens with a Z, Flip. And so I'm gonna play the clip. It's about almost 4 minutes, but I want y'all to sit with it, Dr. Black. I want I want you to do what you do. Play the clip, Amina.
A lot of white men, there's a lot of white men. Man, y'all is all cooning. Coons. There's a lot of white men that do the bullshit. There's a lot of people that do these things and we don't look at them in any way, or if we do, it's not highlighted.
Okay, so Flip, 2 things.
Pardon me, I'm not done.
Okay, sorry.
People, it's easy for somebody to just wake up one day and watch something on the internet and decide to change their experience that you have with them. Even if you say, yo, come on, girl, like, nah, I don't want, no, come on, what are we doing? I told you no, and he like these things are gray areas that people don't want to talk about. You just have to abide by society's new rules and just accept it because this is where it's going. It doesn't make it right, and it's fucked up too. Puff, I'm not talking about Puff. I don't give a, obviously the shit that I read, it's been a long time. It's this shit that he's been going through and he's been doing to people. So if you did it, you got to wear that. But I'm just talking about just everyday people that experience these things that somebody could just wake up and decide to change exactly what happened, and we're gonna go with that and go with them.
Pause that. 866-801-8255. There's a call on line 4. Is he? Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. So let me welcome in Dr. Okay. All right. While we wait, Dr. Black, I want you to digest that. We got a person that wants to ring in on this conversation from the Woo. Let me welcome in. We're having this conversation. Let me welcome in this brother. Anybody that is part of the Wu-Tang Clan is definitely welcome here on the Karen Hunter Show. Let me welcome Rizza to the Karen Hunter Show. Hello. Peace.
Mic check 1 2. Peace. Can you hear me?
Yes, brother. Hi. Welcome.
Yeah,
can you hear me?
Hold on, let me just turn my headphone up because I can't hear you.
Turn your headphones up. Turn your headphones up. Hey. You're here with Dr. Daniel Black. What say ye?
Okay, I hear you now. Now I'm in the building.
Yes, you are.
I hope I didn't mess up the production by doing that.
You didn't. And I love that you care.
Bong, bong. So you know what? I was listening. I know you was about to move on to the whole Diddy of it all, you know what I mean? And that's definitely, you know what I mean, a lot to talk about, you know what I mean?
Well, let me pause you because we never have conversations about the pop culture things. We're always talking about us and our responsibility to one another and our responsibility to the future, to the children, our responsibility to creating a world that we want to live in. And we use the Diddy or the Janet Jackson as an entry point.
And respect. No, I know how you do it, and I appreciate how you do it. But I was going to say, before we jump into that subject, I just was hearing you talking about, the colorism that we are dealing with in our culture, which has its root in history, for hundreds of years, of course, and we know the foundation of it goes back to those ships and to those plantations and to that type of thing that was propagated for us. But also it goes back to the false teachings of genetics itself. See, if you don't understand the genetics of life and all the different shades that we as original people have, then you get caught up in somebody else's description of it. But just so you know genetically, I want to say this to any brother out there, if you're light-skinned, as light as Mariah Carey, or as you as dark as Jamon from Amistad. You know what I mean? It's all the black gene, because there's 48 shades of black before you get to a white gene. And that's a genetic thing. So you could go back and study that science and know that those are the things that are alike within us. And within our own physical body, we can produce 48 different shades. And when I look at my own self, my mother had 11 children, right? And my brother Devon is light skinned. Same mother and father, but my sister Cherie is dark skinned. Same mother and father. I'm in the middle. My other brother King is reddish. He like somebody red jumped in the pot. You know what I mean? But all these different genes are carried through us, and it's been carried through us for thousands and thousands of years before they threw us on a boat and brought us over here and dealt with, genetically trying to manipulate us. Because also one thing people don't realize, and I'll just say this and I'll pass you the mic, is that when you look at us in America, the black man and woman in America, there was a lot of scientific process done to us in order to get the submissive slave out of us. You know what I mean? And a lot of that process was done on other islands before it was shipped over to the plantation of Jamestown. And it wasn't just explorers. The scientists know that in the black man's body, genetically, you have dominant and recessive genes. And these genes make their appearance based on the generation. Usually, the number 64 is a strong time. Like every 64 years, something's going to happen, even though every 10 years, 20 years. But at 64, you could be at the most recessive or at the most dominant, depending on how you started out with the genetical study or the genetical manipulation. And so by the time we got to the docile, submissive slave who was strong physically, but mentally he wasn't there no more. He had already been stripped of his name, language, and culture, and therefore he's like anything that's a mammal. He could do it to a horse. Okay, he could do it to a lion. He could do it to a man. So that process definitely put a big effect on us, and therefore, once we got subconsciously and consciously lost, we able to then say, oh, he's not your brother because he's light skinned, or he's dark, or he's brown, or he's better. And these things became more like mental manipulation. But please know, my brothers and sisters out there, that we have 48 shades, right? You know the 48 laws of power? Well, we have 48 shades of blackness, all right, before you get to the white.
So you were just in the studio listening to the radio and wanted to jump. First of all, I'm always humble because I never know who listens. You know, the day that KRS-One was just driving around calling in and chucking them, and it's just David Banner, Scarface. I'm like always floored because it means that we're resonating at a vibration or at a level that we're attracting this kind of energy, and I love that. So I just want to, first of all, thank you for wanting to jump in.
My pleasure.
Bruh, because you are, legendary.
Well, you got on your shirt, you got freedom. Free the dome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Free that dome. Thank you. I'm gonna pass the mic back. I done interrupted the show, and I gotta go.
Thank you, brother.
My interview, but thank you very much. Peace and
Rizza,
blessings.
give him some applause.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next time we gotta have you in the studio for real, like a real interview. Let's do that. Jonah. Make that happen. That's wild. Okay, so Dr. Black, I need to process. We're gonna go to break. When we come back, I'm just always like, how do
I'd love to respond to something he said.
This show attracts people who think deeply. Dr. Daniel Black is here. So before Rizza came in, we were playing this clip from Joe Budden's podcast, and there was a young man basically saying, white men get away with this. His name was Queen's Flip, and and the language is changing, the culture's changing. It used to be, you said to a shorty, come on, and she says no, and then that turns into like an accusation down the line, and so we got to make the adjustment to the way things are changing. And he was, going in, Dr. Black. Thoughts and prayers on Rizza and that before we play Melissa Ford's response?
Yes, I think the biggest problem in America is that we have not yet fully decided just how much toxic masculinity we want to keep. See, we want to keep some of it. We want to keep some of it. We want to get rid of some of it too. We just can't figure out where the line is as a culture. No, we do not want a man to hit a woman. We don't want a man to hit a woman, but we don't want him twisting either. See, we want certain kinds of masculinity and certain levels of it, but it gets ambiguous when we start trying to figure out where exactly does the line stop. We want a man to provide, but we want a man to leave space for a woman to have her own stuff. We want a man to protect, but we don't want a man to tell a woman what to do. See, it keeps getting tricky. It keeps getting tricky. And that's why too many people in general have this notion of, well, dang, if a woman says no, is it absolutely not? Does that what that mean? Or is she kind of playing with you? It's silly and it's ridiculous. But what I'm simply saying is the problem comes in where we do not ask men for character. We ask men for performance. We ask women for character. In other words, we ask our mothers not to drink. We ask our mothers to be upstanding in terms of how they walk. We ask our mothers to be upstanding in terms of how they move, their sexual behavior, etc. Our fathers can have sexual escapades and brag about it to the son. But we'll kill a Negro if he talks about my mama like that. See?
Okay. All right, let me play Melissa Ford because I think she might. That's Dr. Daniel Black, y'all. It's the Karen Hunter Show. So again, I set it up. They were talking about Diddy, but not really. We're not really talking about Diddy. We're talking about us, you and me.
Us, right?
Play Melissa Ford's response.
That's how I feel about that.
And was fly on this part. He was done. He was definitely done. He just repeated everything again.
Wait, so pause. So that's why. Hold on. So Joe Budden basically, because when she started to talk, he was like, "I'm not finished."
Right.
And Joe Budden was like, "You just basically repeated the thing you said already. So you were finished. You just didn't. You were finished. You was. But he admitted he just didn't like her cutting him off, which is another level.
See?
There's a lot going on in this. All right, go ahead, finish it.
Ass was done.
Yeah, no,
he was finished.
Don't interrupt me.
You just
though.
repeating it. We heard this. You right. I love this podcast.
Why are you making fun of me for?
I'm not.
You did two things right here when you were what you were talking about. There's a lot of whataboutism in what you're talking about. There's white men can get away with certain things that can't get away with and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, there may be a double standard, and that's something that fucking sucks, but it is a reality. Mm-hmm. There's that. The other thing that's happened is our understanding and vocabulary has changed and expanded as time has gone on for people to understand that something that might have been a very uncomfortable and experience that they didn't necessarily have the words to describe, as time goes on and you have time to process, and then also your vocabulary and understanding expands, then you are able to actually vocalize what happened to you. So listen, I agree. It can be very uncomfortable for somebody who thinks that an experience that they had with another person was on the up and up and completely consensual and stuff like that, only to find out that they did not view it that way. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation is, at that point, it is up to that person to listen to what that other person's account was, because they might have had blinders on to the situation or not really understood that what they were doing was, for lack of a better word, wrong. I can't tell you how many times I ended up in that. When it came to being a woman in this industry in the late 90s, early 2000s, it wasn't just accepted that shit was going to happen to you. It was expected. And it was also expected that you keep your fucking mouth shut. It was expected that if you said anything, nobody was going to listen to you. And so you just found a way to survive. Some women served other women up on a platter like fucking tadpoles. Better you than me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was survival of the fucking fittest. And that's the reality. But now things have drastically changed. Our concept as a society as to what consent means has drastically changed. And it has forced people to come to terms with the fact that their behavior may not have always been on the up and up with how they've engaged with other folks.
I agree with that.
Shut him all the way down. And
Yes, she did.
And
I agree with her completely. And in fact, I agree with her in another way also. And that is what most people, and certainly most men, don't realize is race and gender work very similarly. In other words, there are ways in which people were nice in the 1950s, which we would call racist today. They were not part of the lynch mob. They was not coming to the lynch mob. But they might jump in front of you in the line at Macy's. But because they were so much kinder than the lynch mob at the time, right? We were fine with them. See, in other words, if you notice, people get more and more racist as time goes on. They were really always that racist. It's just that in proximity to our pain, they were not nearly as racist because we were just trying to get the folks who were causing the greatest amount of it. That's the same thing with gender issues. The men who I won't hit a woman, that does not mean that you're not sexist. And it doesn't mean that that you don't participate in gender oppression. It means that you won't do the physical act of abusing a woman, but you might dismiss her in a conversation. But see, as she said, we might forgive that easily though. Because if you didn't hit a woman, oh my God, you a good brother. Brother, come on. Now all of a sudden we're critiquing the brothers who dismiss women too. You see, so as the consciousness of a people grows, so will the means and the measure of their critique.
And our standards. Because
and the
if it's
standards.
just survival, and okay, I could get snatched out of my bed at 2:00 in the morning, so I'm definitely that's my problem right now. The person that might snatch me out of my bed for not averting my eyes or jumping off of a curb. But now, as we grow as society, our standards should also follow and mature. And yeah, that's unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Unacceptable. Yes.
Like there were some white people who hid black people on the Underground Railroad. I believe that. And I also believe they could still be racist.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Absolutely. And this is important. And also, before we run out of time, my great brother from Wu was saying a minute ago that there were 48 shades of black, right? Which is perfectly fine, no issue. The thing I want people to start understanding is, why don't we talk about the shades of whiteness?
Are there?
Yes. Oatmeal, bone, ivory, cream, egg, coconut, alabaster. Come on, somebody. Frost.
What's the point of that?
This is the point right here. You know why we don't talk about whiteness in shades? Because whiteness by itself is the goal. In whatever dimension, in whatever manifestation. When it is the goal,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It need not be divided. It need not be fractured. In whatever way it manifests, because a dirty white person can be just as racist as I'm talking to somebody. It doesn't make any difference. Their whiteness is the fact of, it's just that they're white. The reason blackness is divided up into shades of black, because it's an announcement of how far away from whiteness you are. Ooh, Karen Hunter.
All right. In less than a minute, where should we land? What's the goal, Dr. Black?
The goal here is to understand that every single color on the planet is God's color.